everyone, and welcome back to the vast and ominous Comic Vault. I am Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
Eric, it's time for more Ultimate Spider-Man. We are
is.
finally into Volume 7, which you have said, at least at one time, was your least favorite.
Yes. I have very
these.
personal reasons for that.
Yeah, you said that.
So when I'm a kid, I subscribed to Ultimate Spider-Man. The first issue I get is that the last issue of Venom, where Nick Fury's talking to him. And then this. This is what I get. And more than that...
no.
And more than that, they're double shipping at this point. So I subscribe for a 12-issue subscription, assuming, like it's for like my birthday, Christmas or something, assuming that next year I'll be able to do it again. It only lasts for 6 months. And it's Geldorf.
Yep.
Although now that I'm looking at these and counting these, I don't think I have a full 12 issues. Because this is 40 to 45. Plus Venom. That's 40. That's 6. Or that's 7. There's an issue. There's an issue from this that's missing, which is 46, which is in the Ultimate 6 collection. That's 8, and then I got issue 50. Issue 50 is the last issue I get. That's not 12 issues.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got screwed. Anyways, so like, this is what I had to read for 6 months. Was these...
And this is probably a lot worse every couple of weeks than sitting down and reading it all together. When you're just waiting with bated breath to find out what, like, really overwritten, decompressed thing is coming next. Because when people talk about overwritten and decompressed Bendis, this is what they're talking about. This is him at his, at least at that point, worst with that, I think. A lot of it. Now, that anime issue at the end I like a lot more.
I do too.
And I like the issue...
But I can tell you as like a 16-year-old, I did not.
Sure. And the issue at the beginning of this, I also think is better than the rest of it. Like, I think it's bookended with more decent issues.
I feel like it should have been 2 issues. It should have been the Peter Mary Jane at the party, and then a Geldorf issue. That's it.
Yeah. He's not deserving of all of those issues, and it just takes forever. And there's a lot of, like, almost embarrassing writing in this. Like... There's some really kind of, like, immature, almost high schoolish writing going on here, where Bendis often will straddle that fence between being, like, super realistic in letting, like, all the words a person would probably say come out, so it's just wall-to-wall words on a page, and writing what reads like a, like, you know, 10th or 11th grade, you know, melodramatic story. Like the kind of stuff I had to read in high school or college or writing school. Some of this read like that. There's a bit where Aunt May starts going to town on Peter, just screaming at him. That's worse than the last time I complained about that.
I also have ethical questions about that scene.
Remind me what even happens in it, because I'm just remembering the yelling.
So Peter is, and okay. So again, I'm going to stick up for that scene like I did last time. This time even more so. She is not wrong. So
I just don't like the words he puts in her mouth.
Okay.
That's all I'm talking about.
So what she knows is that there was like an explosion at school. Everyone's evacuated. Peter's missing.
Yep.
He's hanging out with the X-Men. He comes back. What I think is maybe So I had this question about what's going too far.
And knowing what's going on in her mind when she sits down with a therapist makes that scene better. But I don't know. It's just really melodramatically written. Like, it just feels like screaming is drama. It feels like one of those scenes.
But I also don't think it's unrealistic or unnatural.
I did. I thought it was very unnatural.
Okay.
But anyway, go ahead.
So I don't know what the line is for...
Some of it's the all caps. Some of it's just the way it's presented that bugged me. Yeah, anyway, go ahead.
I don't know what's crossing the... But she's really angry. She thought he was dead, or could have been dead. I don't know. That doesn't feel unnatural or unrealistic to me.
On top of the rest of this, it was for me.
Okay.
Because it feels like Bendis is in a place when he's writing these issues where it feels like he's just writing whatever comes to mind and no longer needs to edit anything. Like, it feels like he's just throwing up all over the page.
Well, and he's also double shipping at this point, so... There might
be truth to that.
But
that is what it felt like to me.
I don't know what the line is on keeping your secret identity, but I feel like Peter crosses it here. Where, so Aunt May's yelling at him, and the book bag opens up, and there's Adventures of Robin Hood. which his mom used to read to him. And she comments on it. She's like, that's your mother's book. And then he immediately jumps on that and goes...
And he comes up with a lie.
Yeah, where he's like, I skipped out on school and I went and read this. I don't do it all the time, but like I get straight A's and like I was just really into it.
It's emotional manipulation. Where it's like,
that
this was my mom's
like that
book.
was crossing a line. I've never felt like that before Spider-Man, but I was like, I don't know about that. That feels like I get that you want to keep your secret identity, but... And I get that you have to lie to do that,
yeah.
But emotionally manipulating felt not fair.
I'm with you. I don't know what else he would have done, but that was laying it on real thick.
Mm-hmm.
I had kind of tuned out at that point, honestly, because it just didn't feel like it. A lot of this just didn't feel as smart as this book has felt.
Mm-hmm. So, rereading this, I realized I liked this arc more than I thought I did. It is the X-Men issue, where Professor X talks for 8 pages about things that will never play out in this book.
Really?
And I don't think they play out in X-Men either, because Bendis only writes 12 issues of X-Men. Yeah, everything he's talking about like, genetic tampering with fetuses, like, I'm going to find these people, I don't think that ever comes to anything.
We get a whole biology lesson about what the placenta is.
I keep saying fetus, it's the placenta. Yes.
And it's an interesting idea, but we just go on and on and on forever about it.
That issue sucks. And I think that issue is the reason that I hate this arc. And I realize, I mean, Geldorf is also stupid, but I had a different read of Geldorf this time. I read him as Tommy Wiseau.
I did too. I actually, believe it or not, I was going to say that. I had the same thing.
This is around when...
I can't believe you said that. I had the same thing.
This is around when that is making its rounds on the Midnight Circuit.
Oh, so you think that might be
I think it might be intentional.
Okay.
I think it might be intentional.
Well, he looks a little bit like him with hair and...
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he's a little weird looking and he's clearly meant to like kind of...
So I enjoyed him much more this reading because I was reading him as Tommy Wiseau.
Get that in your head, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of funny.
So Geldorf's this kid that has these superpowers and he can blow things up, which I continue to think, I thought this as a kid, I continue to think is one of the coolest visualized versions of this kind of power. I just think it looks cool. The way the like energy ball like comes out of his hands, he like squeezes the ball and it makes something explode. I think it's a really cool visual. Geldorf also was supposed to come to something. He will never show up again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, good riddance, because...
Yeah.
And, like, I kept thinking that interesting things could be done with him. Like, I do kind of like, Spider-Man trying to talk sense to him on the roof and coming to that place where he's like, oh, there's no common ground.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no place where you're going to understand what I'm talking. Like it's like talking to a caveman.
It felt weird to put this right after Venom.
Sure.
We just did kind of a Dark Mirror Spider-Man. We're going to do another Dark Mirror Spider-Man that's also like kind of his age. Like, so he's a kid with superpowers who has no comprehension of responsibility, like at all, or consequences. And he's with these.
Or empathy or anything. Like, part of the problem was I didn't understand where this kid came from and how he got that way.
Well, his mom's killed or something. He's a science experiment. He doesn't know his own history.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think he says that.
Okay.
And now he's with foster parents. Like, he doesn't know what he is or how he became what he is. But also, whatever happened to his mom had happened before he was born. So, like, I don't really know. I get the impression that he doesn't know a lot about his backstory either. And so that's why he's all weird. I don't fully understand him either.
Yeah.
But
he's also just immediately like not a compelling character, and but again, that could have been more interesting. I guess I just needed to have a better sense of. I needed to feel like that was a guy that got like that, and not just Bendis going, let's have this guy with no empathy at all, who's just the opposite mirror of Spider-Man.
But I feel like that's what that Professor X like spiel is supposed to explain.
The whole placenta thing?
Yeah, and that, like, he was experimented on and all of this, and I'm like, but I don't care.
Okay, yeah.
There's so many words explaining almost nothing.
Yeah, you're probably right that's what it's supposed to be. It read more like, this is how he ended up getting his powers, and so he's sort of a mutant and sort of not. Isn't that interesting? Where it's like this loophole, he's a mutant but he's not thing.
And it is interesting, but... that felt like that could have been a scene and not an issue. It is the issue, and it's padded with those.
And it made me lose track of what he was getting at thematically and stuff.
It's padded with some jokes, some of which work, some of which don't. I really like the Jean Grey joke. I've always really liked the Jean Grey joke. It's one of the things I think about with this arc is I think that joke is funny. But him imagining that he's escaping and Professor X being like, what would that really help Peter? That felt like we were padding. Like he didn't have enough pages. So he has to do this 2 or 3 page sequence where Peter steals Geldorf and breaks out. And then it's just like, well, he was thinking about it.
What else was Bendis writing at the same time?
I believe Avengers, Daredevil, and Avengers and Daredevil? I think he's writing Avengers and Daredevil at this point.
Because sometimes
or he's writing Daredevil and Alias.
Sometimes with the context of what else Bendis is writing at one time, you can kind of tell which books he's phoning in.
That might be while he's writing Secret War.
And I feel like that might be going on here.
Yeah, he might be putting his energies. Maybe he's just starting Avengers. He's putting his energies into that. I'm not sure. This felt like
this is such a throwaway arc.
Yeah.
And what's weird about it is it also feels like he intentionally has a couple of major relationship type things happen in it, so it doesn't feel. And I appreciate that. It's smart of him to do that, so that it doesn't feel superfluous. It's like if it was just this without Peter and Mary Jane getting back together, and then without the bookend with Aunt May and her putting all of her feelings out there, it would really feel throwaway. Like that stuff you have to have, and I like the Aunt May stuff.
The Aunt May with the therapist is I told you way back in issue 13. I'm like, there's another issue that's like this. We're just talking for an issue. It's great.
It's great, and that's another place where I mean we get the yin and the yang with Bendis in this and his just constant dialogue balloons, where you get the kind of that where it's really boring and he doesn't need as many words as he's putting out and it doesn't feel that natural, and then you get again just a huge block of text for every page with Aunt May, but it's super believable, and I'm engaged and I care and I feel like there's a progression of thought and story where she starts in one place and at the end she gets to another place, and she's starting to understand like why she feels the way she does about stuff. And that was some better therapist writing than you sometimes get, too.
Yeah. I completely believe her. I also think that might be ripped off from Sorkin.
Oh, really?
I've heard Bendis talk about how Sorkin always has like an episode where like the character goes to the therapist, and I don't know if he's like ripping on that.
It was kind of Sorkin-esque, wasn't it?
Bendis is Sorkin-esque.
Well, that's true, but that issue specifically, especially because it was one person talking for a long time.
Yeah. But that Aunt May stuff, I think, is wonderful.
For anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, Sorkin is West Wing.
Yeah. But I think issue 45 is a great issue. It's one of the best issues, I think, just for like character stuff. Like you really get Aunt May, and I like how realistic it is.
It was a character-defining issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I really like that she like has this whole spiel like. In the best way possible, she talks like people do when they're talking about themselves.
Yeah.
Where, like, she'll say something and then she'll double back and she's like, but do I really think that? Or, like, I know that sounds crazy. Like, I know it doesn't make sense that it's Spider-Man, but something about I really like all that.
Yeah, she keeps trying to think it all out.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, she discovers that she's just too hard on herself and she's blaming herself for everything.
No, I thought that was great. I like the whole thing where she talks about having feelings for Captain Stacy and how much it...
Yes.
And how angry she is that she's seeing a therapist now after this guy she knew for like 2 weeks died.
Yes, that's
she
awesome.
She didn't when Peter's parents died. She didn't when Uncle Ben died. That feels really realistic to me.
Yeah, that's great. Where she's psychoanalyzing herself, she's punishing herself because she doesn't understand why she's doing things. She doesn't get her own psychology, and she thinks there's something wrong with her for doing that.
I also like that she keeps saying things and then like redoubling down. She's like, look, I don't actually see ghosts. I'm not crazy. That felt really, really realistic.
Yeah, I forgot about that part too. But like, and I felt like I could read in it because, you're on the outside looking in just like the therapist is. And so I felt like I could kind of tell where she as a character was coming from, even though she didn't. Where it's like, well, the big difference with now versus every other time you lost somebody was you had Ben there, and like I realized that she didn't go there when she lost Ben too, but it kind of made sense.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, at the very least, it's just compiled on top of itself.
Yeah, you're right.
She hadn't recovered from the death of Ben, and then, you know, all this stuff keeps happening.
Well, and maybe that's a thing that because it would affect her so much, it's difficult to talk about. You can't even wrap your mind around it. Whereas maybe it's actually easier to go to the therapist with Stacy because she didn't know him that well.
I also like the conversation that they have about sex in that, because that's the closest Bendis gets to dealing with that because he's not allowed. We know that he wanted to.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
That's the closest we get where she's like, well, I assume they are.
Yeah.
But he's smart. He'll be safe. We will later find out that they are not.
Interesting. And she brings back some of the hippie stuff. I like that she says like, well, and especially with him like running out to see her. You remember? And that's where the therapist asks if they're sleeping together because he keeps getting up in the middle of the night and running off to see her, but he's getting straight A's. And so she's like, well, like with my own background and the fact that he's keeping up his studies, how can I not let him do that? But I'm terrified about what might happen to him because there's this crazy Spider-Man guy running around. That was all great and didn't feel horribly typical because it's we do that kind of mistaken identity thing, of course, in comics all the time, where you have a loved one of the superhero who hates the alter ego, and it's handled in a really mature way.
Well,
here. And also it's really realistic because people are spotting him.
It's not Spider-Man for no reason. It's that he's shown up at Peter's school, and that people are seeing
in
him in the neighborhood.
Keep seeing him.
Yeah,
that's a thing I never thought about.
That people in Forest Hills would see Spider-Man?
Yeah, of course! Like, duh!
Yeah.
No, she would be terrified. He's always around. And it's also kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah.
But, like, I'd never thought of that.
With the stuff with Mary Jane and all of that, so there's a thing that I thought I was going to read differently this time that I didn't, which is... So, in the back matter for some of the previous trades, Bendis keeps talking about the love triangle between Gwen Stacy, Mary Jane Watson, and Peter Parker. I never read it that way.
I'm not reading it that way either.
She's completely platonic friends with him. There is no romance angle.
No.
It's very... She's not into him at all. She's so excited. I was expecting to see her face on that bus disappointed when they're back together. She's not. She's excited for them.
And Mary Jane seems, at least in those issues, completely past worrying that it is a love triangle and something is going to happen with her and Peter. Like, they're still living together. Like Gwen still lives in their house, but Mary Jane and Gwen are starting to be like closer friends, and there doesn't seem to be any animosity. There's no love triangle phase. And
I also like that MJ talked about because you complained about how she like broke down when they broke up. And she kind of cops that. Where she's like, look, I didn't deal with it well.
No, this makes that way better. Yeah, I actually thought of that when I read that scene. I have no problem with that scene anymore. Because like, there are consequences and she realizes what she did. Like, I wasn't sure in that scene if Bendis was just being melodramatic, to some degree, or if that was just that character making a mistake. And that's what it was, and it makes perfect sense that she did that.
I also love the scene where they're writing to each other and the teacher reads the entire conversation of the class.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious and also made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, oh, that's the worst!
The whole conversation.
Is there anything else major, you think? Other than Geldorf? Who, by the way, exists in 616 to die.
I mean, I've never read Ultimate X-Men at all, or at least, I mean, I read some of the not reboot, but like when they started Ultimate over with Miles, I read some of that.
Ultimate Comics X-Men.
Yes, but I've never read the X-Men this early in Ultimate, and I don't know what to think of it because I didn't get a lot of it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty much just the three main girls and
the cute ones.
It's weird. Yeah, that line was weird, and Kitty Pryde is all obsessed with Spider-Man. Has a Spider-Man poster, and
yeah, and that will go somewhere.
Yeah, and that I know a little bit about because of later. There's talking about it, but
There's a sequence that I love, that I've always loved and always thought was really funny. When Spider-Man has his half-made costume and the eyepiece falls out, he's like, "Don't move."
I forgot to talk about the costume stuff. That's all hilarious.
It's great. It's great. It's really
and like
funny.
there's multiple makeshift costumes.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, like Mary Jane is able to give him like half of one, but he's got just pants. And,
because Mary Jane was making him a costume before he
before they
broke up, and then she just stopped. Because she needs measurements. I also love what he calls the wrestling guy, and he's trying to explain what the costume is, and he's like, that's not really a wrestling thing.
No, also, that whole thing was great, and of course, you know that I love anything with Spider-Man making a costume and it being realistic and that he doesn't have the resources and stuff. It always drives me crazy when Spider-Man just has like a brilliant like $1,000 looking costume being broke.
But no, the eyepiece falling out and him looking for like a contact, I just think is the funniest thing. Don't move. After he saves a woman, like
I also really like
Homecoming.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
That was one of the next things I was going to mention.
Okay.
Yeah. I almost sent you a message about that.
Yeah.
But you know what I like about it?
One was Batman.
One was Batman.
Yeah.
I think that's fun. I think that there's some
like thugs,
real world thugs that are
Avengers masks,
robbing a bank just like in Homecoming.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. What
or
were you
wherever
saying?
they're robbing. Yeah. Oh, you're cool.
Delicatessen.
It's either a bank or a deli. I also I was going to say something else about the costume thing, and I can't remember what it is now, but it's probably not that important. Anyway.
But
it's not a great arc.
It's not a great arc. I don't hate it as much as I used to, because I realized I was like, oh, I hate this.
For me, it's mostly just writing stuff.
I hate this because of that X-Men issue. That goes forever and is not interesting, and isn't a good payoff to anything that was set up. And I think I was just annoyed by Geldorf when I was a kid, and like now that I'm a little bit older, I'm like, he is funny. He doesn't make sense as a character, but like I was amused by things more. Probably that's because I was reading him as Tom Rousseau. Like he's just so alien. But I liked it better. It's still not a great arc.
I feel like that's a thing I've seen a lot in comics and done, or other superhero things and done better than here is the thing.
I feel like I've seen Bendis do it better.
You know, the character that gets like, you know, supreme power and is in over his head, and you know, kind of is not at all prepared to be, you know, as mighty as he is, and like I always hold the gold standard for me with that is Chronicle, and like once I saw that, just most things don't do it as well as that did. Not everybody likes Chronicle, but I feel like that's kind of the gold standard for that.
Which, much like The Room, also is a film where someone says he will record everything.
It's true. He does say that. But one thing Tommy Wiseau never did say was that he was the apex predator. That's never happened.
I am apex predator.
I think it's really funny that you also saw that as Wiseau. That makes me think that he did that on purpose.
Yeah, yeah. And that's around when that's kicking around as like an underground movie. Like that's the timeline lines up for him to have maybe seen that before he does that. And it's obscure enough that no one noticed it. Or most people didn't notice it.
It's true. I think a lot of people, if they went back and read it now, would be like, oh my god.
Bendis also knows that everyone hates Geldorf. And he jokes about it constantly.
Oh, really?
There is an issue somewhere where there is graffiti that says Geldorf rules.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, Geldorf's like a running gag specifically on Word Balloon, Geldorf is a running gag.
That's like his Jar Jar, except mercifully he wasn't there for
Geldorf and Ultimate Deadpool. People hate Ultimate Deadpool.
What's wrong with Ultimate Deadpool? He's
not Deadpool. Because remember, he makes it before Deadpool becomes a fad.
Oh.
So he's not Deadpool. He's not funny at all.
But I would be really interested in reading a not funny Deadpool. Like, I'd like to know what that's like.
We will get to it.
Oh, really? In Spider-Man?
Yeah, it's in Spider-Man.
Okay.
Yeah. In an arc called Deadpool.
Oh, cool. Sweet. So as soon as I get there, I'll know.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, this is the arc with Wait for a Deadpool. Okay, all right.
This is Ultimate Deadpool.
I assume. So is he introduced in X-Men, or is he introduced here?
I think he's introduced here.
Weird.
It's a Most Dangerous Game story.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it really boring and not that?
I don't remember liking it, but I might like it better. It's Most Dangerous Game, but Deadpool's hunting the X-Men and Spider-Man. That's Ultimate Deadpool.
So he's just like a hitman guy. I mean, I know Deadpool's a hitman
I don't
guy.
remember.
I get that.
I don't
Is that all it
remember.
is? Is he just like Deadshot or something?
Yes, basically.
Okay.
He's just like, yeah. I don't fully remember, but like I also remember thinking he was
Ultimate
boring.
Deadpool is Ultimate Deadshot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not Deadshot. I like Deadshot. Deadshot's a complex character.
Right.
It's more like, I don't know, like boring Kraven the Hunter. I don't know.
Boring Deadshot. Well, anyway, is that all you wanted to?
Yeah.
you want to tackle?
I also want to briefly mention,
Yeah.
just so anyone reading at home knows, and so you know,
Yeah.
there is an issue missing here. This is 40 to 45, and then our next arc is 47 to 53, which is also part of why I was so angry reading all these issues as they were coming out. It's in a different trade. I don't know how I feel about the placement, but basically, the issue that we're missing introduces Sandman, but it's entirely an FBI report telling you what happened, almost like an entire flashback issue, to events that you didn't see.
Why did they leave it out?
Because Sandman is in the Ultimate Six, and so they just put that in front of the storyline.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I don't know why they... Because, like, when we read that, you'll read an issue about Sandman, and then Ultimate Six.
Because for a minute, the way you were describing it, it sounded like you were going to say they left it out because it was bad. Like, I've never seen that in a trade.
No, I was just bored. Like, I'm sure I'll like it when I read it now, and I think I've liked it when I reread it when my last go through Ultimate Spider-Man. But, like, as a kid, I was like, so... Peter Parker hangs out with his girlfriend for 2 issues, then with this Geldorf guy, then Professor Xavier talks for 6 months, and then Aunt May goes to the therapist, and then I read an issue where Spider-Man's not in it, it's just about Sandman? Recapping events I didn't see?
Yeah. You know,
it was rough for, like, 14, 15-year-old Eric.
But I want 14 or 15-year-old Eric to do synopses for all of Ultimate Spider-Man because... because even if those issues, when you grow up and you see what they're talking about and you're not just looking for like superheroes punching each other, are interesting and compelling, the point of this book was for new kids to grow up with Spider-Man, not for 20-somethings to read something intellectual. And it's great to do both, and it's great to speak over kids' heads a little bit, but when you describe it like that, it's like, it is not doing what it was intended to do.
On the upside, the next 3 issues that I would have got, which is 47, 48, or I guess 47, 48, 49, 50? Yeah, I guess next 4 issues. I guess I did get quite a bit of an arc. There's boobs all over the place, so I've got that for 14-year-old
14-year-old Eric was probably excited
because we get Elektra and Black Cat, and they do not fix Black Cat's costume at all. Like, it's just Black Cat. So,
oh, yeah, there it is.
You don't even know. You're not even there yet. You don't even know. It might be more revealing than regular 616's Black Cat's costume.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that worked out for my subscription, but like, it was rough, and that they were double shipping, and so I only got half a year. If I ever meet Bendis, I'm gonna tell him about that. They robbed me. They're like, you think it's cool that you were double shipping, but that screwed me as a kid.
They just came in at the worst possible time.
Yeah, the worst in the middle. Geldorf.
And you could have read Venom before that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you didn't love that arc, but like 14-year-old Eric would have liked that better than that. And
yeah.
The arc right after it's probably more exciting. I don't know what happens in the arc after it, but
you're talking about the next arc?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talking about Black Cat.
Yeah. Black Cat and Elektra, and yeah. It's good.
But like, there's probably more action.
There is more action.
I would imagine.
It also, I think I've mentioned this multiple times in these videos, but next issue I think is the TiVo joke. Where they're stealing TiVos and they don't know what a TiVo is, and I'm like, that's even funnier now because TiVos are so outmoded.
It's hilarious. That could happen right now. So what is that? Well, it's not worth anything. Just toss it away.
Junk is what it is.
Yeah. Have you told me that Ultimate Daredevil is really bad?
The miniseries or the character?
Both. I feel like you said something about Ultimate Daredevil, but I don't remember if you were talking about the mini or the character.
Ultimate Daredevil's just kind of a jerk.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if he's really a jerk or if it's just from Peter Parker's perspective. I'll be interested to see what I think about when
An unreliable narrator.
No, he's just kind of a jerk.
But have you ever read his own thing?
So
his miniseries?
I read Ultimate Elektra.
Yeah.
Or I think it's Ultimate Elektra and Daredevil.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really match up with Elektra, I don't think, in this. It's just a weird retelling of Man Without Fear, but like kind of from her perspective, but she's more sympathetic. It's weird. But it's Rocka. I'm sure it's great. I haven't read that since I was a teenager. Okay. Like, I don't have strong opinions. I just remember being like, oh, this isn't like a superhero thing at all, but I hadn't read Man Without Fear at that point. Like, when I read Man Without Fear, I had flashes of Ultimate Elektra and Daredevil, where I was like, oh, they were doing this! So.
Weird.
Yep.
Well, I may look at that at some point. I don't know how much of Ultimate you have.
I have something close to all of Ultimate Spider-Man. I have the first 3 books like this for Ultimate X-Men, which is all of Millar's run.
Okay.
And I've got the first and second hardcovers for Ultimate Fantastic Four, which is the first 4 trades. I would like to get the third one, because that finishes out Millar's run, which is supposed to be really good, and I don't have any of the stuff after that. So I have a smattering.
Cool. Well, thanks again for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it. We're going to go on now to one more quick vault, and we've got some solo stuff to cover, so we will see you if you're watching the playlist here in just a little bit. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
Thanks for watching.
Also, Ultimate's Ultimate.
I said that. No, let's do it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Get that tagline in there. Well done. You look like there's a wheel turning.
I think I have Ultimate Armor, so I got rid of Ultimate Armor. I used to have Ultimate Human. I don't have that anymore. I need to rebuy that. Goodbye, everybody!